don't need to talk about it. I know I haven't finished my other theory. I'll eventually get to it. So today I want to talk about chapter 269 of Tokyo Revengers. In chapter 268, we learn that Shin is a time leaper, as well as Takemichi. And then Mikey mentions that there's a timeline 0, or one timeline before Takemichi got involved in everything. So when chapter 269 came out, one of the first things I noticed was Mikey's eyes in the very jarring panel at the end.
Okay, so I decided, oh shit, buddy, I gotta dig a little deeper.
Were white, just like how he is sometimes when he's having dark impulses. Now we do see an inconsistency with Mikey's eye color, but I do want to say some of that could be because we're seeing the story on Takemichi's point of view. Now my thought is that Mikey from the original timeline, his consciousness is the dark impulses or something along those lines. Let me dial it back and try to explain this. First, I want to talk about how the dark impulses are shown, like portrayed. Now they have spirals, right? It's like a black spiral thing. The dark impulses are portrayed as black spirals. There's a couple concepts I want to address regarding this. First, I feel like the darkness, the spirals, could be a reference to Mikey being in a vegetative state. In a vegetative state, some part of you mentally is there, some part of you mentally is not there. A lot of people in a vegetative state can move reflexively, laugh reflexively, something like that, but they're not consciously there. The concept in general is very dark and not something that I really enjoyed looking into, but the whole concept of being in a vegetative state really resonates with how Mikey experiences dark impulses. I'm gonna post something here about vegetative states. I saw a post that I'm not gonna quote correctly because I don't have it in front of me. It was about this guy who visited someone in a vegetative state when they had come out of the vegetative state. When they first talked to this survivor, he was like there, but his personality hadn't come out yet. Come out was the worst phrase to use. His personality hadn't returned yet. Physically moving, talking, all those things came back to him, but his sense of self was still not back yet. The guy explains it as, I started to wonder whether he returned from the abyss, bit by bit. Now this connects to Mikey in two ways, in my opinion. First off, the way Mikey is slowly getting more and more emotional as the fight goes on. The second part involves how dark impulses are portrayed. I said before that they are a circle-like thing. They're black, it's circular, just like an abyss. This guy said specifically that it was like he was coming out of the abyss. So a lot of this is kind of hinging on that one report, but just trust me, dude. Sources, just trust him. Just trust me and just trust the guy who wrote it. So if timeline 0 Mikey is there during the dark impulses, he's slowly coming out of a vegetative state, except in a different timeline where everything is wrong and he doesn't understand it. Which explains this panel, this panel where he says, my brother should be there and he isn't. I don't know what's going on when that happens. Timeline 0 Mikey was taken care of by Shin. And as I mentioned before, people in a vegetative state can to a degree understand what's happening around them. He could have known Shin was always with him and then wakes up and he's not there anymore in this timeline. Another thing that shocked way too many people, Mikey normally refers to Shin in a past tense. He would have, he has, whatever else. But with the white eyes, he refers to him as Shin is a time traveler, as if he's still not on the ground. This could also explain how Mikey killed everyone in the Manila timeline, because he only would know Baiji, Emma, and Sanzu at that point. That also could explain, in my opinion, why Mikey wants to die in that timeline in Manila, because he didn't kill those people. It was his other timeline self, or his dark impulses, who didn't know who they were, but Mikey knows who they are, so Mikey feels that overwhelming guilt that he killed people, even though it kind of wasn't exactly him. Get what I'm saying? Maybe. What about Takemichi? If anything, Mikey just doesn't attack him, or he did in the beginning with Kazutora, but then slowly Takemichi has become someone who can get Mikey out of the dark impulses to a degree. I say that and then he got shot in Botown. We're gonna just don't think too much into it. I think it's possible that Takemichi has just gotten through to both Mikeys, because you see in this inconsistency, Mikey has white eyes right here, and then he's saying all this nice stuff about Takemichi, sort of nice, you know what I mean? He's seeing him through a lens that's very, very positive when he should have looked way worse than that. This also connects to the fact that Mikey's eyes are like normally black, right? We see him having black eyes 90% of the time, and Wakui normally draws them very, very dark, but we see differences in his eyes under great distress. And I feel like that may be both the Mikeys kind of just existing together. This also connects to Mikey in the final battle, where he hears Takemichi can see the future, and he is very surprised by that. More expressive than I feel like someone would be if they knew their friend could travel through time, because it's not too far. I mean, it's a little bit of a leap, but like it's not too far of a leap if you've heard all the stuff from Takemichi that Mikey should have heard, or probably heard. So what if Timeline 0 Mikey had not heard that before, or he just didn't hear it in the same way because people have been yelling about it since the beginning of the fight? I know. There's also the possibility of Takemichi and Mikey knowing each other in Timeline 0. Also, there's some wording that I don't know where to add into this theory. I think that's it. I'm gonna get going. I will be back with another theory, maybe, possibly. I'll be back when I'm back. Goodbye.